for the caddis hatch, spinner fall, or whatever else it takes for the huge trout of local legend to show themselves. Lakes like this are considered worth the trouble, especially by those few, usually locals, who have seen and perhaps even caught some of the fish. As it turns out, some guides do fish Rat Lake on their days off. It's the kind of fishing you have to be in the mood for, and I was in the mood. It was spring, and I'd been a good boy for most of the winter, working hard on several things, including this book. I figured I owed myself some serious big trout fishing from cushy accommodations because, well, that's what writers do, isn't it? They finish the book and then go off to Paris to drink and carouse, or to Montana to fish and drink, to relax, let the well fill up, and prove to themselves once again that they don't really give a damn about much of anything. At least that's what my study of literature seems to indicate. Of course, this was in country where grizzly bears are known to live, and we'd spent some time in a bar the evening before trying to scare the one member of the party who had never been to Montana before and had some misgivings in this area. We told him the way to tell a black bear from a grizzly is that the black will follow you up a tree, while the grizz will just shake you out. He sipped his jumper cable, a local drink that warms you up after a cold day of fishing but also causes nightmares, and said he was more scared of rattlesnakes than bears. I said, sure, but if a rattler gets you, at least they'll find more of you than your shoes. You probably know that the .44 Magnum is the handgun of choice among those who worry about grizzly bears. But did you know that the .357 mag, no slouch in the deadly weapon department, is known in some circles as a bear tickler? Yes, sir, your best chance with the .357 is to shoot the bear with it and then slip away while he's busy laughing. This is all pretty cruel, I suppose, but it's one of those manly things we men do to each other for no reason than that it was once done to us. I won't glorify it by calling it a rite of passage. The following morning we climbed to Rat Lake. We found it to be just above the altitude where, on the second to the last day in May, the rain changes to snow. The lake was in a small bowl with steep-sided, thickly forested hills rising around it. The air and the water were still, and the slopes of the hills wandered in and out of the low clouds. The water was trout cool, but the air was cooler, and steam rose from the lake. You couldn't ask for a prettier view, but you could sure ask for better weather to be out in. We managed roughly 4 hours on the water, enough time to determine that the fishing was somewhere between very slow and dead. One small trout had been landed, and another had been hooked briefly. The best guess was that those monster trout, inscrutable enough under normal conditions, were moping under the bottomed-out barometer. It's a little-known fact that the barometer was actually invented by a fisherman. Its original purpose was not to measure atmospheric pressure, but to provide scientific-sounding excuses for not catching fish. I was the first one off the water, in spite of the fact that I hate to be the one to crap out while everyone else is still at it, even on a day when you have to stop to shake the snow off of your fly rod every few minutes. On the other hand, cold is cold, and when you're not catching fish, there isn't much else to think about. I hadn't given up on the idea of sticking it out. A lake like this can take more patience than skill to crack, but I wanted to stick it out next to a little campfire, so I walked into the woods looking for something resembling dry wood. I walked out of sight of the lake into a thick stand of spruce, but the old trick of finding dry, dead branches low down on the trunks was clearly not going to work. The snow fell on the top of the forest and then percolated down to fall as rain under what would normally be the cover of trees. The pattering of water on the pine needles was the only sound. I was wet, cold, miserable, and fishless, but oddly enough, I now recall it all as being very beautiful. Right about then, I was struck with a